Hey everybody, Alex Kazora, SteelersDepot.com, back with some Pittsburgh Steelers tape breakdown and analysis. Last video we did was a more positive one on rookie nose tackle Keanu Benton and how he can help replace Cam Hayward. We'll flip on over to the offense today and talk about all their many problems in this game. There were certainly issues, personnel, execution-wise. I think Kenny Pickett had a really poor game overall. But in going through the all-22 of this game, my one conclusion I just keep going back to, my one thought is, man, this offense is boring. Just so boring, and we'll talk about that today. And before I get into today's video, if you guys could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I'd appreciate that. And as we talk about this video, I'm going to play these things through. It just felt like there's only a couple concepts in this passing game on the play sheet for Matt Canada. And I understand, game circumstance, when you fall behind, it stifles creativity and what you can call and the rhythm and flow and the plan of the game. And I try to be as fair as possible, understanding kind of the things that Canada has had to work through, quarterback changes. But let me just start here with the tape and just seeing it's just the same concepts over and over again, and just maybe slight variations of it. Here's one early in the game here, the first third down of the season, 3rd and 5, and you got 2x2, you got a little cross underneath, post route over the top, curls elsewhere. This in itself is not necessarily a bad play call. As we'll see here in a second, you're just seeing it over and over again, and nothing's really here. And then Pickett's under some pressure, and Calvin Austin doesn't work hard enough in the scramble drill. And so again, in a vacuum, I'm not saying this was a terrible play call, but just when you watch the tape, it feels like deja vu because you're watching the same thing over and over again. Later in the first half, same concept. You're going to go this time, it's 2x2. You're going to get the crosser from Robinson. Frymuth's going to sit down, curl by Johnson. Probably could convert that vertically if the corner's playing up and he can beat him. And then Pickens on the post. And I know why Canada called this, because if you saw in the last clip, you got that one-on-one coverage and Pickens looked open on the post and Pickett just didn't see it. Then some pressure came in late, 3rd and 5. You're not always thinking about the deep shot here. And so, Canada's had this habit, and it's not necessarily a bad thing to go back to a play where you think you might have missed something, you can go back and hit it, but different coverage here, well, a bit of rotation. I mean, it's just overall being taken away, and they go back to this again, and the pass is incomplete. But I'm just seeing the same stuff over and over again, and this is the second time we've seen this concept called this half. And Pittsburgh did not have the ball much in the first half, and they called this one twice. And one last time of this play call, 3x1 at a bunch this time, so some slight variations maybe in the formation, but same thing, crosser, sit down, post route. This time, Miles Boykin doesn't break this route off as much, with the cornerback kind of rolling up here, and so he's going to run this one vertically, just the slight adjustment there, and this one ends up in a sack. So again, I'm not saying the play call in itself as a standalone thing is bad, but just same stuff over and over and over again, and nothing really worked on this concept either. It's not like it worked once or twice and they want to try to go back to it again. It has not worked. It did not continue to work, and they kept calling it. These play calls, some of them worked. It's not that everything was a disaster in terms of the play calling, but it's to the point of just the boring, limited play sheet. And again, I understand, play calling. You have certain play calls for certain situations, 2nd and long, 3rd and short, high red zone, low red zone. So it's not like you have an infinite amount of plays to work with, but it feels like every down and distance is broken down into 4 calls, and they kind of really lean on maybe 1 or 2. So one overall point, and we're going to see a ton of examples of this, are the mirrored concepts. And so basically Pittsburgh, if they're 2x2, the concepts are almost guaranteed to be mirrored. What happens at the top to the 2 receiver side, to the one side, it's the same to the bottom, to the other 2 receiver side in 2x2. And so this one, they ran this a couple of times. Just, whatever you want to call this one in particular. You got some verticals from the number 1s. You got the sit-down routes from the slot receivers in number 2, Robinson and Pat Frymuth. Not a bad outcome here. Robinson working away from leverage from the zone hook defender underneath. Catches this pass, picks up the first down. Again, not in itself a terrible thing, but just 2x2 mirrored concepts. You can put money on it, basically. And here is the same concept later in the game. Pittsburgh 2x2, verticals by number 1s, sitting down, these curl routes, working away from these zone defenders by The number two is the slot receivers. Fine outcome here. Robinson doing the same, working away from leverage. Pickett, throwing it to him. Okay, fine. Not bad play calls. Again, it's just how limited this playbook is. And I know the word predictable is oversaid and it can become very cliche unless you have real specifics, but I'm showing you the specifics of, I've already looked at a handful of play calls and there's only been 2 different ones so far. First play of the season going to be 2x2 as Frymouth motions across from that 3x1 bunch. A different route concept than we just saw out of this 2x2 look. Basically smash concept. You're going to get Allen Robinson right here and Deontay Johnson right here running the corners. Pickens on a curl, Frymouth on a curl to back out to the flat. Spot concept really to the top there, the corner, the curl, in the back out in the flat. Called spot, called snag. But again, 2x2 essentially mirrored. Again, not a terrible play call, working against zone. Against man-heavy teams, this is probably going to be a lot tougher. I imagine Pittsburgh came out with a more, a game plan to beat zone coverage, which is what they were anticipating. A lot of cover 3, cover 4 in this game. But to the point, it's just 2x2. You're going to be mirrored, and this was the story of the day. And again, 2x2, 2 receivers to the bottom, 2 receivers to the top, and a mirrored concept here. These double moves here from the number 2 receivers and the kind of short outbreaking routes from the number 1 receivers in Deontay Johnson and George Pickens. This one corralled pretty quickly by the corner down here in the red zone without as much of a vertical threat overall. So again, just the point, 2x2 mirrored concepts all day long. And one more time, and at this point you probably understand why I've called this a boring offense. Gonna motion here to 2x2 and the same mirrored concepts overall. Just basically everybody sitting down on curls. Nice throw here overall from Kenny Pickett to the far hash, complete to Deontay Johnson. And listen, I'm sure if Matt Canada's watching, which he's probably almost assuredly not, say, hey, these plays work. They pick up some yardage. They pick up a first down or maybe get you out of the 6-yard line they're on right now. But it just overall, just year after year, and no excuses this year. Kenny Pickett, second-year guy. He's your starter. Team looked good in the preseason. And it just is the same handful of play calls overall. And it just is boring to watch. How about out of empty? Basically, a one-play call here, a tear concept, and vocabulary probably changes here a little bit. And to be fair, this one should have been a touchdown. This is on Kenny Pickett, but the tear concept, basically 2 out routes, 3 receiver side here. Hayward kind of sits, but basically out route from Pickens, number 2, and Najee, the number 1 receiver on the outside to this play running vertical. Pickett does not look there. He comes to Johnson on the slant, which we'll see. I'll point this out to try to be as fair as possible. This should have been 6, and I really feel bad for Deontay Johnson. He's hurt. Should have at least had a touchdown in this game, break that drought that he's had that dates back to the 2021 season. So Pickett, I think, the worst throw of his career. Just this is a walking touchdown, and the dude just flat out misses, just throws behind Deontay, and it's just inexcusable. Now, luckily, they score in this drive. Pat Frymouth catches a 3-yard touchdown on a good throw by Kenny Pickett. But empty set, tear concept to the trip side, and we're going to see it again here in a second. And late in the game on Pittsburgh's final drive, empty set, 3 receivers to the bottom, 2 to the top, and your tear concept here, the 2 out routes, the vertical route by Najee Harris. And so Pittsburgh, not an empty a lot in this game. I don't know if they ran anything else at empty. They might have. Maybe I missed something in here. I'm trying to go back through all these plays, but empty set. And they'll probably change it up for the following week. I'm sure they're not going to run this every single time, obviously. And I think they were trying to find some zone beaters in this game. That's why you saw the route tree that you did. But you get the point overall. To me, an offense where you've seen one play, you've seen them all kind of thing. And so far, I've not seen a big change in the creativity of this offense and really good constraint plays and routes that aren't so independent of each other and things that can really put defenders in conflict. Not seeing much of that. I saw more of that in the preseason than I have so far in this week 1 against the 49ers. So you can have all the caveats to it. Players have to be better. I think Kenny Pickett, again, was really poor in this game. Receivers can make more plays. The game circumstance of falling behind and not getting into your rhythm of your run game and the things that can work off of that. Your bootlegs and your play actions, understood all those things. But again, you can really boil this passing game down to I'm not joking, probably 5 concepts whenever they're kind of in their standard drop back pass game. And it's not fun to watch. And I love watching the all 22. I thought it was fun to watch the offensive line play, even the defense. They weren't great, they weren't very good, but it was different, just watching different things. And it just feels like Groundhog Day over and over as I watch the Steelers offense. So we went through, how many plays did we go through? 3, 6, 7, I don't know, almost a dozen plays. And I think we kind of showed maybe 3 concepts of those dozen plays. They have 52 dropbacks in this game. So yeah, and you probably could have added more if I really wanted to bore myself some more and probably bore you as well. So I'm not calling for anyone to be fired immediately. I don't do that kind of stuff after week 1. I'm not trying to, have the sky fall after just 1 loss, as bad as it was. Let's see what happens in week 2. It's a big game. If they beat the Browns, the offense looks better, the defense contains Chubb and Watson, then we're all happy again. They're 1-0 in the North. I understand that, but just want to talk about that today. Probably will not be the last time that we discuss it, about just how boring this offense is. And I love watching this stuff, and even watching it the other night as I went through the all 22 here, like I just did now. I just felt like, get me out of here. I want to watch a different system. So that's my thoughts on the offense. Again, not just coaching. Certainly not just coaching. Players have to be better. They have to be better than they were against the 49ers when they play the Browns on Monday night. Pickett, starting with him for sure. He's not let off the hook here at all. But I'm going to wrap things up. I probably droned on and maybe bored you more than you already are at this point. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Appreciate you guys watching. Again, like this video, subscribe to the channel. Would appreciate it. And we'll talk to you soon.